What stopped you from committing suicide? I remember the morning I was ready to go. I couldn't decide how to do it. I didn't have a gun. I didn't want to cut my wrists and leave a big mess to clean up. So I decided to use sleeping pills, but how many would it take? I went online to search for the answer, and ended up on a forum of people thinking of suicide. And there, among all the ads along both sides of the page, this was before ad blockers, was a flashing ad. I remember it was a yellow telephone number on a black background. It was the number to the suicide hotline. I kept reading the forum, and looking back at the flashing number. Back and forth. Finally I called the number. I was on the line with them for about a half hour, telling them about my troubles and how I didn't see any other way, and so on. Anyway, they sent me to a therapist, who sent me to a hospital, where I checked myself into their ward for a week. That was a Monday. By Wednesday, I couldn't believe I had even considered trying. It's all so temporary. Why? Life is but a spark. Make of that spark what you can. Honestly, I don't really have an answer. It's mainly just that me dying would create more problems for my family, not them missing me, but funerals are expensive. Probably not the healthiest reason, but it's worked so far. A girl. As not a very reliable reason because I could be left anytime. One text from her about my day and how I was got me out of it. Thinking about the pain my family and friends would feel. The guilt that I'd cause them. Felt bad ABT leaving a corpse. I remembered that I had no rope and I had a test the next day. The many places I still want to and need to visit. And I don't want my assets going to anyone. My cat is really soft and is helpful for quelling my serious panic attacks. I woke up 24 hours later in a pile of blue vomit. Figured if a whole bottle of pills didn't kill me I might as well see what life had for me. 18 years later I have a beautiful wife and son. Never give up. I love you. 2 things. First, I made a list of everyone who will be sad, who cared basically, and I thought it was a simple task, but I started overflowing with names to write so I broke down feeling stupid for thinking nobody loved me. And second, think about something you never did because of embarrassment or not having the courage, and I mean, you can't leave without trying that out, right? At this point, nothing more than my innate self-preservation instincts. I am very much done otherwise. Games. And mostly taking my mind off of it. My parents, best friend and boyfriend. I know they love me, especially my boyfriend, and I couldn't do something like that to them. One phone call letting me know I had a place to stay. Believing that I would go to hell for that, as I don't believe in God anymore. My old friend randomly by chance called me on my phone to catch up while I was in the process of going through with it. Because it might hurt. Antidepressants and thinking of my family, pets. My mother and sister would be sad. Not bleeding enough. My mom adopted my nephews. It gave me purpose. Thinking about my dogs. How they would worry and pine and feel helpless. And then who would take care of them? And how long would it take for them, and me, to be found? I quit smoking and drinking. Got my self-worth back. That is a really bad hole to put yourself in. Mom. I didn't want to put my sisters through it, and also, I wanted to know how Game of Thrones was going to end. Loving yourself is the hardest thing to do. When you find purpose, thoughts of suicide vanish. Finding spirituality can also bring you toward the right path. It's not an easy path but probably the hardest. My children. Otherwise I feel I'm a burden on everyone around me and I'm unnecessary. The pain, physical and emotional, is unfathomable. Cowardice and selfishness. Very often felt guilty not doing so. Partially why I think the think of other people messaging I sometimes see is short-sighted. Bleach wouldn't taste like dessert. Nothing, it just didn't work the 4 times I tried. 2 things, my OCD and the fact that life goes through changes, and as I delayed my suicide I have found better times. When I felt seriously suicidal, I used to make a pact with myself, so I told myself, dude, you can't kill yourself now, you haven't seen Avengers, the Endgame yet. Just wait until you see it and then you can off yourself. And another time I told myself, when I was obsessed with God, come on, just wait until you finish all these books from Game of Thrones and then you can kill yourself. And as the time passed, my life changed as well. I've found moments of joy and it renewed my enthusiasm for living my dreams. My OCD helped me as well. I couldn't kill myself unless I left my house perfectly cleaned and in order, so I used to clean every day, every single room from my house. But living with my father, who is a hoarder, made things difficult, so I couldn't kill myself until I was convinced that the house would remain clean and orderly, at least after my funeral. I felt bad thinking of all the shit my mom would have to deal with afterwards, without them knowing, my kids. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I find something to be grateful for every single day, and that helps keep me from going back to the dark places. I know it sounds cliche, but when you think you've hit rock bottom, the only direction is up. Philosophy: you understand a lot of things thanks to those wise person that lived decades, even centuries before you. Not sure. My children. My friend. And I've realized how life works, for now. Like being over-conscious. Noticing even smallest emotions of people even when they hide them. But it's only happening like 1/20th the time, sadly. Lexapro. I didn't want my rabbit to get sent to a shelter, never understanding why I wasn't coming back for her. Everything I could have done in the future to prevent someone else from doing what I was doing, except in extreme cases. Knife was too dull. Then I chickened out. That sounds bad. I'm doing much better now, so please don't worry. I don't want to live, but I'm scared of dying. Allah. My ferrets. They need me. I didn't attempt because I was suicidal. I had a psychotic episode and don't even remember it happening. Sure as shit remember the resulting hospital visit, though. I can't break my parents' hearts. Constant anxiety and indecisiveness was driving me into depression, but the same anxiety and indecisiveness made it impossible for me to commit the deed. I'm still here, still the same, but now waiting for nature to take its course. My life flashed before my eyes and I saw what I was missing, being with the woman I was with when the barrel was in my mouth. Laziness, lol. Physically it was my dad who stopped me, but after that attempt it was the thought of what it would do to my mom that kept me from trying again. Procrastination. My kids need me still. Lord Huron. What good is living the life you've been given if all you do is stand in one place? I haven't stopped moving since. I never felt I could reliably succeed. And possible consequences for failure are too drastic. Having a child, as well as having my sister committed when I was young and seeing how devastated our family was. I think I am killing myself soon. Mom would be sad. My daughter. My best friends and my cats. I got a dog. Honestly, because I didn't write a suicide note explaining why I did what I did. I didn't have paper or a pen in my room. I didn't want my parents to find me like that, especially since the life I have is really good compared to other people's lives. Also knowing my mom, she would have confined herself to her room wondering what went wrong and eventually would have followed along right after me. The Reddit bot. Just kidding. I blocked it. It's really irritating that you can't discuss suicide objectively without someone flagging you, like, I know you feel like a hero but try to read more and grasp the context. After the 4th time of AI fake caring I blocked it. I don't know, it's offensive somehow. As someone with no children and all my loved ones older than me, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. I'm not going to suffer alone in a long-term care home. Nothing really when I'm about to do so. One of my mates perfectly times a text and I wind up getting too distracted and not doing it. My mother already lost my father to a car wreck, so I knew if I did it, it would devastate her. And I felt there are people who love me, so I didn't want to hurt them too. The uncertainty about my despair. I was in a horrendously abusive relationship and everything looked hopeless. But I thought about how doing it would break my family, and that made me start to think of all the things I still dreamed about, even if they felt like 1,000 miles away in my head. That's what stopped me. It was a long road from there, but that was the lowest point and the turning point. I don't want to die with a bullet to my brain. Take that how you will. Fear of death and also what I'd leave behind. My dog looking at me on the other side of the window. My mom had bought it 2 weeks prior cause she didn't want me to feel lonely. He was and still is one of the best things that brings happiness to my life. He really is human's best friend.